Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. This is Smart Business Moves. I'm with Sheri-Anne Woolley. Hey, Sheri-Anne, how are you today?
Hi, Tom. I am well.
Had the pleasure of meeting Sheri-Anne. God, it was probably a few years ago. You spent a week with us in the mansion at one of our foundation's events.
Yeah. Never forget that experience. It was fantastic. And it helped me in my business. So,
We hear that a lot about foundations, right? Hey, Denise, good to see you.
Before we get too deep into Sheri-Anne, let's go ahead and talk about what we're doing here the rest of the week. What are we doing the rest of the week, Liz?
All right, well, let's see. Tomorrow we have Amy Wiggs King, and she is down there in Oklahoma. She's amazing. You guys are going to love having Amy on. She's fun, and she's going to be talking about weeding out the riffraff. So getting rid of the not so great employees and keeping the great employees. And then we have this weird guy coming on Thursday. I'm not sure about him.
Sounds a bit sketchy, but it's going to be tough. We're getting to the end of the year. It's December now. Can you believe that?
Oh my gosh.
2020 is almost over.
How's that possible?
Can't happen fast enough, huh? But we need to get ready for 2021 because 2021 is going to be an awesome year. And we need to get your KPI tracking together. So we need to be talking about, what do we really want to be measuring and how do we want to go about getting prepared so we can hit the ground running? We don't want to, get into the middle of first quarter and figure out that we haven't been doing the things that we said that we wanted to do at the beginning of the year. So this is going to be one of several discussions we're going to be having here over the next few weeks about getting ready for 2021. And I'm excited. I'm inspired. Looking forward to 2021.
I'm holding you to that word, Tom. You said that 2021 is going to be great. So, I'm looking forward to.
Well, it's all relative. It's getting better every day. We've discussed that. Sheri-Anne, you said that you're feeling better about 2020 now than you have since COVID.
Yeah. I know, funny enough, but the changes that I've had to make in my business and kind of the way things have gone, I would have never planned or predicted this. But I was able to pivot. So thank goodness.
So wait a minute. Tom and I heard two different things. So I'm wondering what it was. So I heard you say that you're happier in your business than you've ever been since COVID. But it sounds like Tom heard you say you're happier now in 2020 than you've been since COVID.
Both are correct.
Oh, both.
So in 2020, I think since COVID has hit, I think I've been the happiest. And I think it's because there's so much uncertainty in the world. The only thing I'm certain of is me and my mindset, right? So that's really all I have control over. And I think that is why. Not to mention, we were all put on a giant pause, right? So we had to sit back and smell whatever roses were around.
I don't know. Like, I keep hearing about this giant pause, but that was not my reality. I had no pause. There was no, and actually, if anything, everything ramped up for me. It was like,
for you personally as a person, yes, but the world around you slowed down. So I worked harder when COVID hit and we were on lockdown because I didn't have employees in my ears. I didn't have any of that going on. So yeah, I dove right into my business and did a lot more. But the rest of the world was on peace. And I think that was calming for me.
You know what? I think it's different for us because we never shut down. Our business never actually shut down. So it didn't get it. We never had that peace time. It was always like, okay, you thought it was crazy yesterday. Let's see how today is. And let's not even think about tomorrow. So yeah. Oh, what's this?
So this is Sheri. This is your website. You are in Toronto.
That's correct. Well, I'm in Markham, which has just become a city about 3 years ago. Very close proximity to Toronto. I usually say Toronto because that's what people know.
Okay. So some of the rules, I guess, are a little bit different, and you guys, for the most part, have been taking a more conservative approach to COVID in terms of shutdowns. And I mean, you guys, it hasn't, I mean, it's been a problem, but you guys are doing better in terms of people getting sick and so forth in Canada than in the US, correct?
That is correct. But for my business, what has happened is we are in Markham, physically brick and mortar, and then we service both Markham and Toronto. So I think that's where, Markham is not on complete lockdown right now, but Toronto is. So Toronto took a bit of a hit, but Markham is still popping. So it's kind of, it's a big adjustment. I think that whenever that our prime minister gets up and says something, I am bracing myself because I don't know what's going to happen. In wave one, we were completely closed from March 16th right until June 30th.
That's a long time.
That is a long time.
So what's an owner to do, right? So I started examining the systems I had in place, the numbers that I was getting, and just really examining what I could do to shift and pivot. And one of the major things I recognized was we still had commercial clients that, whether they were cleaning or not, wanted us to clean. Sorry, whether they were working or not, wanted us to continue cleaning for them. So that was a saving grace. Then I recognized that mid-June, our phone started ringing again. And it was angry people who wanted us to clean despite the fact that we weren't allowed to clean. So it was an interesting time for us. We ended up losing quite a bit of clients. Our business sunk by 90%. We weren't in the commercial business. That's not what we did. But when I recognized the handful of commercial or offices that we had was still there, I used that time to hunker down and really focus on how I could get more offices, the type of offices that were still in business during this time. And I really, took that shift because, again, when our government starts to dole out money, and that money is a little bit sweeter than what I can offer when you're a part-timer. And remember, a lot of people in this industry work a couple of jobs. So for me, they're working part-time for me, but they're working part-time somewhere else. And even at full-time, I couldn't pay what the government was giving. So I lost my staff. I think I ended up with 3 people that stayed because they just didn't want to take the government money. So it was a very challenging time. It was a lot of bounce back had to be done. I don't even know what else to say, but I learned a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, no kidding. We learned a lot through COVID. And, it's funny because a lot of times we're talking about COVID now like it's in the past. Like, we're right smack dab in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost like my brain can't hold on to it for that long. It's like, okay, I'm done with that now. So.
And I think part of it is we've become used to the state that we're in, right? So whatever that is for you, I think we've just become used to it, right or wrong. And like I said, it's been an adjustment, but it really forced me to sit down and look at my numbers, look at my processes, look at my systems, and figure out how I could pivot and where I could pivot to. So we lost, like I said, 90% of our residential in March. We didn't open up again until I think July, 5th, 6th, 7th, sometime in there. Our staff was fearful to come to work. Our clients in Toronto were very fearful. So we went through probably a month and a half of people calling, booking their service, and then canceling 2 days before or canceling the day before. Or the prime minister would get on the TV and I'd listen to the news and I'd be, I know what's happening tomorrow. And I'd come in to, 9 cancellations. So it, a little bit rocky, a little bit hard to stay on top of. But I started to do what the data was telling me. I started to chase commercial accounts. And funny thing, COVID kind of got rid of the trunk slammers that were cleaning commercial spaces. And now people were looking for professionally put together companies that were addressing COVID, that had protocols in place, that could come in PPE'd up. And we started to win commercial clients that way. So that's kind of where we are now. We're doing a little bit more commercial than we were. Well, we're doing more commercial than residential. And the commercial is just edging on where residential kind of left us off in the beginning of this pandemic. So we're doing okay, but labor is still an issue. And I really thought this was a temporary change. But the more it went on and the more we were, not hearing the phone ring, is the more I started to push for offices.
So, Sheri-Anne, you mentioned that the data was telling you to go towards commercial. I'm assuming some of that data was you're getting a bunch of cancellations on the residential side and probably not a lot of leads. So you needed to go somewhere where there's some work. And how did you make that transition? Because I'm sure from a system standpoint, I know that's part of what we want to be talking about here. You had to do some things differently in your business to accommodate commercial work. What did that look like?
Well, first of all, it's not an area that we ever pitched before. We never went out looking for it. It came to us. So, been grateful that way. But what I realized is we had no way to communicate with commercial people, like net new leads on the street. So we started going up and down our street, figuring out what the businesses were, what kind of businesses were staying open during COVID. We happen to have a client that provides in-home oxygen tanks and respirators. So we went to them to find out that they are a franchise. So now we clean quite a few of their franchises. So, that was a major plus for us. We also noticed that whether they had employees coming in or not, it was peace of mind for their staff to know that the office was still cleaned. And like us, they thought that they would open next week or the next week or the next week. So they wanted to be prepared. And then profitability. Profitability was there on the few that we had. So we turned it up. So we would have more commercial clients. Yes, we upped the price a little bit for newbies, but we have more commercial clients now keeping us in a profitable state, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. Really big deal.
Are these commercial clients, is it the same hours of operation, like Monday through Friday during the day? Are you doing more evening work?
It's all evening and after hours. So we've been granted our own access to these locations. We do Monday to Friday in the evenings, and we do on the weekends. We have a couple that we do in the daytime. And so what I did there was I started to call the particular rep who was cleaning for us. I started to call the clients that she had residentially in the past, and I had to go through this whole long list. Well, she doesn't take the bus, and she wears her PPE, and she can change her mask when she enters, and she'll wear gloves. And it took a little bit. People sat with that for a while. But we managed to bring her back to a full-time schedule along with a couple of these commercial accounts during the day. So my staff went from, I think we were 18-ish pre-COVID to now we're 3.
Okay.
And me plus equals 4.
Wow.
And I'm assuming the people that were working during the day doing residential, a lot of them weren't in positions to even do, the nighttime commercial work anyway.
They weren't in that position anyways. They weren't interested. And I had to separate the people who were okay with sitting home and not working from the people who actually wanted to work and would rather work than stay home. So, like I said, the government did not make it easy at all. I don't know what the state of affairs is in the US, but here there was cash being thrown at us left, right, and center. So it wasn't easy. And it continues to be difficult to find people to work.
Well, we are running into that exact situation here in the States. I was expecting you to say something completely different up there in Canada. I was like, oh, it's got to be better up there. But no, sounds like exactly the same. Everybody down here is struggling to find people. The government was throwing ridiculous sums of money at people. They were earning more in a week than they had in the past earned in 3 months. So it was like, you couldn't afford to not go on unemployment. Yeah, it was a struggle. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
No, at the same time, though, the government was giving money or making money available to businesses to allow them to, stay solvent as well. Was there any assistance that your business got from the government?
Absolutely. The business got some assistance, and they had a deal where they give you a sum of money. You had to pay back a quarter of it. 3/4 of it by December 2022. And I don't know, for me, if the government can't pay the debt that they had on a regular day, how do you dish out billions and be okay with it? So I did take the money, but I'm ready to pay it back.
I think a lot of people did that. We didn't have that type of a deal, but we also had a situation where they threw money at us. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm holding on to it because I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't want to spend it unless I, absolutely be ready to pay it back. Yeah. But I'm dying to hear about your topic today, though, Sheri-Anne. So the topic is how systems helped you to thrive during the pandemic. So tell us about that. Like how? What did you do? What does that even mean?
So first of all, I had financial systems in place that, and this I learned in Foundation 7, allowed me to save every single month. So when I left Foundation, I put that into place and I never, ever had to touch it until now. Yeah. So I had savings going, and a lot of people in business, they will do the income and the expenses, but they're not shaving off a little bit for the business, a rainy day for the business. So that was one of the things that helped me. Being able to look at the data that I track in my business is really a godsend, because that's when I was able to make the pivot and know that I will be okay if I chase commercial, if I chase a certain type of client. So, my marketing system tells me who they are, how often we go there, everything, how we got them. So I use that information to build on. So like I said, we're located on a main street. I went up and down this street and I hit businesses that I felt were still open, still be servicing and still be servicing other clients and still needed cleaning. I looked at the other commercial businesses that we were doing around the city, and I started to canvas those areas. So letters, templates that we had for residential, I sculpted them and edited them, made them for commercial, and approached these companies. And let's be honest, I think in this time, people are trying to be more accommodating. They're trying to really lend a helping hand and support small businesses. So it felt easy. Like I felt like, why wasn't I doing this before? But this is the time that we're in, so it's working, and I'm grateful for that. Marketing, I mean, I could go on forever about marketing, and the truth is with marketing, I don't think I actively have been promoting or exposing my cleaning service to the world or to the WWW. We had done a lot of word of mouth. We had done flyers, magazines here and there. But I realized, again, this time I had to sit down and analyze what was happening in the world. I had so much content. I had done flyers and campaigns and all types of stuff in the past. So I started to resurrect these things from the dead and get them out there. cater them more to the commercial side of things. And then I started to use some of the online things that I had learned and started to push my own, my coaching program, because that mattered. The other thing I did was I canvassed my entire database, whether they were dead customers, alive customers, still with us or not. And I started to offer starter kits. So we can't bring bottles from house to house, vacuums from home to home. So I started to offer starter kits, and I sold it from a COVID angle. This is for your safety. This is going to avoid cross-contamination. We won't be bringing it from home to home. The cleanliness of your cloths is up to you. And that was simply amazing. I sent it out through our software system to our entire base, so whether they were alive or not. And we were making sales just off of that kept us through. I was paying my
When you say alive or not, you mean active or inactive?
active or not active.
They all had a pulse.
They all had a pulse,
Okay.
but active or not or inactive. And we started selling the products that we used to clean in bundles. And I'll tell you that even people who were not using our service, they didn't come back. They would buy a kit.
Huh.
So it was pretty amazing for us. We started selling the kit to our office clients as well. Of course, we adjusted it for them, but there were a lot of little things that we could do to get things going again. We started to sell one of the products that we clean with, because I'm a distributor for it. And amazingly, again, I think people were just trying to be helpful. If you ask, they will commit. So we were asking people to buy this product, and they were buying it. So that became another little thing that kept us busy.
Can I ask you about the logistics of your kits? Were you like building the kits yourself in your office and then distributing it from there?
You got it. We would order in the products, build them in my office, put them in a nice logo branded bag. Okay. And we would either send them out with our cleaners, or I would deliver them.
So for the inactive customers who wanted the kit but didn't want to start service, you'd physically just take it to their doorstep.
Drive it over and drop it on the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did those people pay a different price, Sheri-Anne?
The ones that I delivered?
The ones that did not have service?
No, everybody paid the same price.
And do you mind sharing what you sold your kits for?
$200.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you're selling a chunk of them. What all was in there? Was it like,
So they got a bathroom cleaner, a glass cleaner, a multi-purpose that we use for dusting and floors, and then another multi-purpose that's for kitchen mainly. We also gave them Universal Stone, which is a product that I distribute, which is amazing. That in itself was worth every penny for people. And then we gave them the cloth. So we gave them color-coded microfiber cloths, and some scrubbies, like small tools like that. But it's only 4 products, the 4 bottles that they needed, and we sell our cloths in tens.
Nice. So tell us about the stone. I know that this is taking us off of your topic, but I saw it pop up on your website, and I was just wondering what it was, and you just brought it up, so I'm like, fill us in.
So it's a naturally based product. It's made from soapstone and a couple of other items. And it is absolutely fantastic for stainless steel, your sink, your fridge, your stove, your dishwasher. Shower glass is really where we get big wins with our clients on that. And it has a dwell time of 10 minutes. So if you work it up into a foam, you'd put it on something like a shower glass door that is full of soap scum, and then you rinse it off. And when you rinse it off, the water actually beads on it because it creates like a protector, I would say. So for 3 or 4 days, people don't have soap scum on their window, on their glass. So that is kind of like the way we sell it. That's what matters to so many people. So we actually sell that product. And what I did was we sell it through Shopify. I went into Shopify to play around one day because I'm like, You know, when you go into someone's cart to buy something and you change your mind and then they're on your tail every single day?
Yep.
I wanted to be that person. So I learned in Shopify how to find these people. And I found a slew of people in there, and I composed an email and I sent it out. And then I became a packager of this product because I was able to lock down some of those sales. I think I made an additional like $1,100 just by doing that.
Nice.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. Especially
sorry?
Especially when money was tight. I bet that just felt like, what? Free money right here.
Yeah, that you see why I was happy?
Yes.
And then, you know, a couple of other things that we had, like from an administrative standpoint, we have a lot of templates and things in place that allow us to measure what's happening in our business, reach out to people. One of the biggest things I did, though, in July was I reached out to everybody that had ever had a service with us. And this is why tracking data matters, guys. You never know what you're going to get from it. But I reached out to anybody that had ever had even a single service with us, and I asked them for a review. So reviews were popping on Google, on HomeStars, which is a local, I think it's Home Advisors in the States, so HomeStars here. And we upped our review game. So then we started to naturally get people who found us on Google calling us for service. And I got to tell you, it was hard to keep up because we didn't have the staff. So again, I made another pivot about a month ago, and we started to let go of anybody that was a 3-week client every 3 weeks and people that were every 4 weeks. And the reason we did that, I know it sounds crazy. The reason we did that is because, as you know, when you have a 3-weekly client, it kind of messes up the schedule, right? Same thing was happening with our 4-week clients, but more so because we didn't have enough staff to shift things around or to assign to that monthly person when it falls on an odd day. So we made those changes. And again, it seems weird. My admin lady thought I was crazy, but it worked. And it saved some sanity. I mean, you have to stay sane during this time. So I wasn't going to do that to myself from a schedule perspective. Another thing I did administratively, I have been a somewhat absent owner for probably 8 or 9 years of my business. I've been around for 12 years. And I decided to change it up a little bit. So I let go my person that was in the office with very good reason. I don't want anybody hating me because it's COVID and I let her go, but with very good reason. And I started to do the job myself. And man, oh man, did I learn a lot. So first of all, the systems that I had in place probably a solid 6 years ago, that's what I came back to, even though I've been updating it all the time. And what I learned was, even though I have systems and processes in place, the person that drove that car or sat in that seat started to change them. So she would take them off of the cloud, put them onto the computer. And of course, if I'm updating it on the cloud, it's not going to hit your computer, right? Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of that. I had prepared a full communication thread that lasted 6 weeks for our clients and our employees, and came back to the seat to learn that not everybody got this information. So I spent the first 45 days back in that hot seat on the phone, calling everybody and just winning people over, begging for second chances where we had lost people because we weren't answering the phone. Like, there was just a lot of things that had fallen off track. So administratively, I was able to put those systems and processes back into place and hire someone to do that administrative stuff. So the system is there, the process is there, they're able to function in that role. That freed up my time to do a little bit of the marketing. I do help out with some of the commercial jobs. And I'm also building my my coaching service. One of the things that I've realized through this is you have to be able to pivot, and you have to be able to pivot quickly. And I think right now online is where it's at. So I'm starting to ready myself up for that.
Yay, cool. So when you say you're trying to ready yourself up for that, like, well, what do you mean, Sheri-Anne? Like, in or
You
is that
questions. It's simply the way you behave offline is just not the way you behave online. I think it takes a little bit of different effort. So I had to learn how to play online. If you follow me on social, you'll see that I wasn't active before, but I am very active now. So that in itself is a thing. Just becoming more active on social, sharing content that matters to people who are in similar positions like me, and actually asking people to take action. Whether it is follow me, like me, or buy my thing, it's actually asking people to take action. And I do plan on, kind of getting this online stuff going, but continuing to service the commercial clients that I have.
Well, actually, that's why you are on Smart Business Moves today, is because I started seeing you popping up on social. I was like, okay, she's really kicking it into gear here. She's doing some good stuff. I'm really intrigued. I told you, I was like, oh, I love this. What are you doing, Chickie? This is kind of cool. And so, I saw it, and I'm super impressed.
Thank you.
I hadn't seen you on social media in ever. I hadn't seen you at all. And then all of a sudden, you're just like all over the place.
Yeah.
So
and it is a numbers game. It works.
The digital presence that you're building, is that to do more residential cleaning? Is that to do more commercial? Is that more about your coaching or selling product? All the above? What?
It's more about my coaching, and just by way of being online all the time and sharing valuable content. Yeah, my commercial may grow. I don't think I want to grow residential. I think that we will be in this state of uncertainty and roller coastering for a while. So I do want to focus on commercial, but the online presence is mostly about coaching other service business owners on how to build systems and processes in the back end. That is really where the magic happens. If you don't have a solid foundation in place, it is very hard to survive a pandemic. It is very hard to shift and pivot without having things fall off your plate. So it's partly, my coaching business, but it's also by way of just exposure going to be commercial as well.
So Sheri-Anne, how do people get in touch with you if they want more information about your coaching business?
Well, I can be reached at, do you want me to share my screen?
Sure. Does anybody have any other questions? I see a lot of our regulars on here, Marlo, Linda, Danit. We can only usually see people that are posting, but now actually I see a couple of people down here too. If you guys have any questions about different systems that can be helping you, I think Sheri-Anne's shared a few things today that are just some just small little ideas that you can take and do these things to make a big difference, right? She didn't talk about the one big, or isn't, we're still talking, but not talking about just the one big move, a lot of little moves, and combining all of these things together to, like you said, pivot. All right, so what do we got on here? Business goal planner. All right. What's gum.co?
So that's where you're going to find it. I use Gumroad to distribute the planner. I can be reached on Instagram at Sheri-Anne Inc. But that link is for this planner that I've that I've created to share online. And this is kind of one of the tools that I'm going to be pushing. So if you noticed online, I'm talking about goals, I'm talking about processes and systems. Well, I've created a planner that I actually use that keeps me current online, that helps me create my content And I've broken it down into a 12-week planner so that we can really get granular with our goals and the specific tasks that need to be done on a day-to-day basis. I think that most people want to make X amount in their business, but they don't know how to reverse engineer it to understand what the daily effort is required.
Okay, I would have to agree that I think most people don't know the daily effort that is required. All right, so Tom, did you want to pull it up and look at it?
I dropped the link. Yeah, I mean, here's the actual product.
Cool.
So you can actually, it's all digital, and you can acquire it right here.
Nice, easy. So, what else would you like to talk with us about, Sheri-Anne, that you think would be really helpful for people as they're going through this unprecedented event that we're dealing with these days?
Well, I think first and foremost, Liz, people really need to make sure that they have systems and processes in their business. It is the foundation of their business. It is what is going to allow them to scale. And honestly, I think that because I have systems in place, it was very easy for me to look at things from a bird's eye view and decide which way I need to pivot, how I need to pivot, and what makes sense for me, my lifestyle, and my business.
Yeah.
So, like you said before, yes, it was a lot of small things, but we know that small things done consistently all add up to great things, right? Absolutely. So we dropped by 90%. I could have sat in a corner and cried, but I decided while the world was on vacation that I would get in here and look at my numbers and understand where we stand and what I could possibly do to save myself and to save anybody that wanted to work, because I take my responsibility in paying people very seriously. So, that's why I felt bad about having to let someone go, but we were in crunch time. We needed to have our head above water. So if it was really about job fit and not being able to roll with the changes. So, those things are big. Looking at the commercial, like I said before, people who are in commercial businesses, have offices, have big businesses, chances are they're still working. And if they're working from home, they may have employees that are still going into the office or just need to keep that space clean because they don't know when we'll be able to go back. So that was another big one. And, look at your client base. Who else can you call and get back on and make an offer to? One of the biggest things for me was trying to respect the COVID rules. So as I looked at, what COVID wanted us to do or the government wanted us to do for COVID, I actually bumped that up against what we were actually doing. And again, these are the systems that I was looking at. The financial system, the biggest one, of course, the administrative system. How was I going to logistically do what needed to be done? How was I going to logistically shift what we do every day? What does that look like in my software? What does that look like in terms of the communication I send? And then marketing, of course, the big one, something that we should be doing every single day in our business. How do you market during a pandemic? How do you, tell people they need to have their homes cleaned when there's a fear that's lingering? And, I just kind of left that to people to decide, let them know that we were still here and willing, but it didn't pan out. There was too much fear floating out there. We were up in service, we were down, people would cancel last minute. And that's why I decided going commercial and building something online is the way for me to go.
So when your market changes, going from residential to commercial, obviously your marketing has to change.
Absolutely.
The digital part, in large part, I guess, is your coaching services. Can help some with your commercial. You mentioned that you think that the residential market's going to be choppy for a while. There's some of us that are thinking, a number of people that with a vaccine like on the horizon here, that by the time we get to the middle of 2021, things should be more back to normal in terms of demand and lockdowns, and a lot of the challenges related to COVID should be on their way out by then. From your planning standpoint, is that what you're seeing, or you think that it's going to be a longer process?
I guess I too have some serious doubts, because the news around this entire thing has been a roller coaster. Like, I mean, for everybody, right? And so I don't want to bank on that. I want to, if it comes back to me and, the world is in a state, then absolutely I'll go for it. But right now, the only thing I'm certain of is my ability to get commercial people to join our services right now in the middle of a pandemic. Right. So I want to go where I'm certain and I feel comfortable. Once that residential gets back and maybe starts to straighten itself out, perhaps. But I also did not like the feeling of losing, 9 people in a day or 15 people in a week. And while I get what's happening in the world, that didn't happen in commercial. So my confidence level is going to stick with the numbers, just like you taught me, Tom.
So as I'm listening to you talk, I'm just making a few notes here, Sheri-Anne, and you go back to a lot of the same ideas, obviously going back to systems, going back to metric tracking, going back to the systems of strong financial systems that you actually pay attention to, your administration systems, your marketing, strong communication systems, safety. It sounds like what you did was you just took every system that was in your business already and you just said, I'm going to 10X this system. I'm going to just do more. I'm going to do more of it. With your communication, you could have just sent an email out saying, hey, we're still in business. But instead, you reached out to even your dead people, right? And you didn't just reach out by a quick email either. You got on the phone. You did all of the things. So I think that's another piece of what you're saying here is when everything shut down, you didn't. You didn't. You got busier. Yeah. And it was good times for you. And even though the world slowed down, you kept going. So you just were doing more and more and just digging in harder and harder into the different systems. And then you did, I hear 2 real true pivots. One to commercial, and then the other is to online. Some of these other things are more like short-term strategies, selling the kits and this other stuff. But moving to online and with your coaching, that's a true pivot. This is now we're looking at a different business here. Yeah. And then also commercial, that's a different business. If you've ever done both, that's not the same business. It's different. Yeah, it's a different business, especially if you're doing night, true janitorial work and not just, doing, what do they call it? Commercial, just commercial, which could be during the day, small commercial, dentist offices, etc. So it does sound like you have been very, very busy, that you've really just sort of honed in a lot of your systems and processes and did a lot more than you had been doing before. You even started working in your business.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that the systems and the processes help keep you organized, right? And that is what I think is a big part of my capacity expansion. I'm like, at first I was like, I can't do this. But as I sat down and I started to hammer things out and I started to, make a template for commercial, once you've made that, it's plug and play. So a lot of those things were, made it easier to do. And I don't want to make it sound like it was a cinch. A lot of it was mental. Yeah. How do I cut off people who need the service, but they're every 3 weeks, and that's upsetting our schedule. There's geography. I always look at geography, and I shrunk our territory because there was transportation issues. We have people that say, clients who say, if your girl is taking the bus, we're not your client anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And a big thing that I hear, which I think is awesome, you have systems and you know what the numbers were telling you. And when you lost 90% of your business, I mean, you didn't have the luxury to spend a lot of time, doing strategy and thinking about what your options are. And, a lot of us would be inclined to be trying to figure out, how do I make my house cleaning business successful? And you quickly figured out that you didn't have the luxury to do that, and went in other areas quickly where you knew that you could generate revenue, and it resulted changing your organization, and you had to reduce your staffing, obviously, but that really wasn't negotiable because that was going to happen regardless. So you either made the changes to keep jobs for some people, or everybody loses their job and you lose your business, which isn't an option either. So all that is tough, and it's tough to do it quickly in a situation where there is no option but to do it quickly, and you did. So that is
and it was scary the whole time. It was scary. I'm embarking into something that I've never done on that scale before. Letting people go, and as much as it is, people are not very forgiving when you say you're not going to service them anymore, and some people get upset, but you have to take it, and I'm talking about people who have been with me for years, so it's not easy, but I had to make a decision for my business and for the people that still worked here. And I would feel awful if I couldn't pay my rent. So those are the things that ran through my head. Those are the things that put fire under my ass. And those are the things that made me get to where I am today. So my head's still above water, thank goodness. There's a couple other things that I'm doing, like I'm moving. So right now we sit in a very big brick and mortar office, but nobody comes to the office anymore, right? I don't hold on to products because I'm selling you the product. So I don't need this space. So we're moving within the next week. We got the new place today. So I could, if I told you what I saved in rent, you'd call me a liar, but you do the math. I'm going from $3,300 a month to $640 a month. So you tell me what that is.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yes, that's great. I love that. All right, so I do want to call out one more thing, Sheri-Anne. So a lot of times people will say things like, I didn't have any choice. I had to pivot. I didn't have any choice. I had to do this thing. But that's not true. So I just want to make sure that you get the props you deserve, because you did have a choice. You had the choice to just stick with what you've been doing and just play the victim to the whole thing, and just, I have a choice. The prime minister is shutting us down. This is just the way it is. I'm just, oh, well, poor me. I'm just going to have to roll over, take it. And I guess I'll just go out of business, and then I'll have to get a job. That you could have done that. That was also a choice. That really was a choice that a lot of people did make. So it's not easy. It's not easy to do what you did. And it was a choice that you made, and it was a decision, and you might have felt like you didn't have a choice, but you absolutely did have a choice, and you chose the hard path, not the easy path. The easy path was the other choice.
Job.
Yeah, that was actually the easier choice at that time. You could have gone on unemployment too and been making the big bucks, right?
Yeah. True.
But you didn't. So, I do think that is really important piece whenever we're talking about something big happening, like a pandemic or any other big thing, how important mindset is. That mindset of, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to come out of this. It's not about, you didn't think about whether or not you could do it. It was just, what am I going to do? You didn't think about how. It was just what. Just give me a what. I'll figure out the how.
Yeah.
Another important part of that, though, is we've seen some people put their head down and just plow forward, thinking that if just blind faith and it'll work. And, luck isn't a plan, so you knew the numbers and you had a plan. You knew what you needed to do to make it work. And you were able to measure and see that you were doing the things that you needed to do and getting the results that you needed to get in order to make it work. So mindset is necessary, but it's not sufficient. You also need to be able to assess the situation
Absolutely
often, and like every day, and make sure that the things are happening that needs to happen in order to get the outcome that you're looking for.
Well, and it was the very first thing that you said. The very first thing that you said when you started talking about this was, my data. I looked at my data.
Yeah.
And so that drove your decision. But
I want to make sure that nobody's leaving here thinking that if I just get the right mindset, I can accomplish anything that I want to accomplish. That's part of it.
That's part of it, but it's not all of it.
And
just numbers are the truth. Like, they don't lie. They won't lie to you ever.
They can steer you down the wrong path if you're not paying attention, though. If you don't have a good mindset, these things all go together. There are a lot of people that would have looked at the numbers that said they lost 90% of their business and would have said, it's time for me to hang it up because the numbers don't lie. Mm-hmm. I am going out of business right now, right? So it's both of those things, and it's more than those two. It's also I really loved what you said before. I realized I had a whole freaking lot of stuff already in the can. You took what you already had and you repurposed it.
Yeah.
I already had these letters for residential. I tweaked them and I modified them and I turned them into stuff that was for commercial.
And some of this is very tough for people to be able to take yourself out of the business and look at it from a bird's eye view. Like that's a thing. And I encourage people to do that because the numbers aren't going to lie to you. And you have to, every now and again, take a broader look at what you're doing.
I would agree.
Even in good times, you might have a business that's, successful, viable, profitable, but if you don't have that discussion every once in a while, you might be missing that, huge opportunity that could be a big windfall.
Yeah.
And
just because you're doing well doesn't mean you're not leaving money on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I really like it on a schedule. Right? Don't just do it when you think of it, when somebody says it and you're like, oh, that's a good idea. No, put it on your calendar, right? Do it as part of your annual planning. Check your stuff. Where are you? What are your numbers trending toward? And make your plan and then work that plan.
And that's part of the reason why I created the planner is I realized for me, that's what I relied on. And when I look at the difference I've made in my business and why it didn't happen before, it's a lot of that day-to-day planning that only I look at. But now I've got others looking at it. And I created this planner because I have to use that same discipline to perform online, right? And now there's more variables to measure that I'm not accustomed to. So that's what my planner is about. It's about having all of the data in front of you, jotting things down, and actually working from the plan that you create. Whether it is right or wrong, you will learn from it. You will have a place to move from. But if you take inaction, that's where you're going to stay.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. I think that's great. I can't wait to look into your planner and dig at it a little bit deeper. That sounds really like what a lot of people are missing. A lot of times it just does take a tool that matches with you. Yeah. That you're like, okay, I can do this now that I know, and now I can build a house now that I finally have a hammer. But before you get the tool, sometimes it's like, yeah, I got no idea where to start. So, I haven't even seen your planner, so I have no idea, but I'm really looking forward to getting in there and I'm believing it just because I've been watching you over the last couple of months.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm seeing you make the changes, seeing you make the difference. And I didn't know you lost 90% of your business, so I'm even more in awe.
Thank you.
Again, yeah, really good job. I mean, it's been a struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see Tom starts getting forward. I know he starts getting stressy. Top of the hour over here.
Top of the hour here. Sheri-Anne, thank you so much for sharing with us your story and what you've been able to accomplish during this unprecedented time. 2021 is almost here. Better days ahead.
That's what you keep saying.
It's coming. It's coming. You write it down. Tom said it. Okay. If you haven't subscribed to Cleaning Business Today, do that. It'd be helpful to us. It'll be helpful to you. You get our newsletter or updates on things happening in the industry, deal day, email, first name, last name, really, really easy. Take you to our uploads page. This most recent item here is the PowerPoint deck that Liz used last week to talk about discs and building relationships through better understanding. So you can download that there. Hey, we got some regulars here. Leslie's with us. Paula.
In a while. Hey, Paula.
Denise, Marlo, Linda. Got some fans here, Sheri-Anne.
Hello, fans.
Well,
I want to thank you guys so much for having me on here and letting me share my story. Always a pleasure. I mean, a lot of what I have in place today is thanks to you two. I'll never forget the mansion. Never.
We do it a lot. Yeah. Tom's a little nervous going back there in March already. He's probably like, Liz, why are you telling people? But you guys know me.
Yeah, we're going back in March. I might have to break out my N95 mask. I don't know. Yeah, have you seen some of those that like it fits over your head?
Is that what you want?
I might go there.
I
might go there.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We're gonna hope. Sometimes I can't watch you guys live, but every night I watch it around 9 when I'm up. Oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, that's good to know. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Paula.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Amy Wiggs King is going to be with us tomorrow. She's going to be giving us some hints on, I guess, how to build a stronger workforce. Sheri-Anne, once again, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Liz. Great to see you both.
I'll be watching you.
Bye-bye.